The Manitowish Waters Boat Club was the beginning of what would become the Manitowish Waters Skiing Skeeters. The club began in the mid-1950s, and the early members were Commodore John Hanson, Mike and Dave Dunn, Nancy and Susan Voss, and Louis Burmeister. The first boat was loaned to the club by the Burmeister family. Here are some stories from that time. Interviewers from the Manitowish Waters Historical Society, Janelle, Kohl, and Krans, interviewed David Dunn, John Hanson, and Michael Dunn via phone in the summer of 2022.
Today we have John Hanson, town chairman, and an officer in the Manitowish Waters Historical Society, with David Dunn, who is a member of the community and grew up here in Manitowish Waters years ago and even today. My name is Janelle Kohl. I'm the librarian at the Kohl Library and also a member of the Historical Society. And with us too is Krans, a member of the Historical Society. And today the topic is the boat club. It's a topic of history of when the boat club started and what did the boat club do. So I'd like to start off with a question. When did the boat club start?
John, we better coordinate on that. 1959?
I think it was earlier than that.
Okay.
Because I think I was in high school actually when it started. So that would have been in the mid-50s. Now maybe I'm wrong about that, but does that make any sense?
Well, I was in medical school and graduated in 61, and it was a couple of years before that year, so
Yeah.
it was before I graduated in 61. But it was interesting, getting off. When I interviewed for medical school, there was one spot left in Madison, and the reason I got that spot, I took no tests at all. I went and interviewed with the dean, and between you and me, the dean was excited to have somebody without a science background, without being a real pre-medder, and I think it was the fact that I organized with John the boat club and the ski group, and I think he was interested in the fact that maybe I could offer something to medicine other than just scientific medicine. So that's a thought.
Very interesting. Very interesting.
So anyway, somewhere in that period,
Yes.
we organized the boat club, and I can remember having meetings at the old town hall
Yes.
where we would meet and discuss, have a regular boat club meeting and discuss whatever we were going to discuss. And of course, the old town hall was over where the cemetery is.
And on some Sundays we had Catholic Mass at the old town hall. And it had a rickety communion rail. That really wasn't a communion rail. Okay.
So I think you remember a lot more details about it than I do, so you go ahead.
Well, John was Commodore, and I think Nancy Voss was Secretary-Treasurer, and Nancy and Susan Voss were vital cogs of the start of this thing. And Brother Mike did some research and background for us. The boat, I think the boat we started with, I had an old beat-up Chris Graff inboard, but Louis Burmeister and his mom and dad were kind enough to supply his 16-foot Century Resorter, which was a hot ski boat. And knowing Louis and his dad, it had triple carburetors, and it was not just your basic. But he was kind enough to drive down from Clear Lake down to the Duns or wherever to practice and pull us for skiing. And then we transitioned from the boat club to maybe we'll have a ski club. And we got from the American Water Ski Association, we got some paperwork and we got plans for a ski jump. And Mike thinks that the ski jump was built in front of my garage at our house on Star Lake. We built a jump. It was big. And Mike thinks we must have had a load of lumber come from Minocqua Lumber Company.
Probably.
Yeah. And there were a couple of things about building the ski jump. Number one, it needed edge grain flooring. I didn't know what that was. But it was flooring apparently on the edges so weren't splinters. And it had to be treated with carnauba wax. And we didn't know what that was. That comes from the Amazon. So we did finally, and we started building the jump. And none of us had experience doing carpentry or lumber work or anything, but we built it in the front yard. And then we put it on 55-gallon drums. And Brother Mike thinks that we launched it using one of McFarland's dump trucks. And John had some real beater dump trucks, but Mike can describe the color of it and so forth. And somehow we got this thing launched, and the ski jump went to Kerner's area.
Is that where it went first?
I think that's where we used it for the first time.
See, and that may be after I was involved, because I remember we were still surfing on surfboards.
Yes.
Before water skis came along, and we had the saucers.
Yeah.
And I can remember the first...
You had a red saucer. Mike said it's a red saucer.
It could be.
Yeah.
And I can remember the first show that I remember being put on in front of Z-Grays.
In front of where?
Z-Grays.
Oh, yeah, okay, so Mike said Seat Race, yeah.
Yeah, which is where the original site was before they moved to Rest Lake Park.
Yeah.
And I think I did all of my surfing, and I think there were water skis by then, and we were starting to use water skis. And I did all of mine behind our little 14-foot runabout with a 22 horsepower motor on, and when you got going, if you were going straight, you were going pretty good. When you swung out and started pulling on it, you slowed the boat down
This
pretty
was,
good.
you put the rope on it, pulled. So once it fired up, there was no gear shift, you
No,
just
there
went
was no
flying.
gear shift, yeah.
And we used, before we got privy to use Manila, we probably used plastic wash line, probably from the store. It didn't last, boom. But we copied a lot of our ideas from, I think the Dunn family spent a winter or so going through Cypress Gardens and looking at the show. And the show was jumping, barefoot skiing, trick skiing, pyramids, and so forth. So, but John's right, the original engines had no gear shift. Once it started, you better hold on. And it was a handful.
And then I think the first time I got behind a Chris Craft was in a show that we were putting on. So I'm starting to swing out thinking I'm waiting for this thing to slow down. It didn't slow down. I probably got pulled over on my nose.
Was the show at Seagrace?
Yeah.
Well, we did 2 shows on the road. This is big time. We did a show at Dairyman's.
Okay.
And I think Bill Carroll, who ran the DNR out of Mercer, north of Mercer, I think he transported our jump to Dairyman's. Now, how you transport the jump with all these barrels underneath, I can't remember that. I think they had a lowboy.
Probably.
And then we did a show in Mercer, and so obviously Bill Carroll must have taken the jump up to Mercer and back on Mercer Lake or something. But most of all, it was just skiing and some trick skiing, some slalom skiing, the saucer and so forth. And then later the jump became a big item. And in those days, the American Water Ski Association wanted you to be an expert. You had to barefoot for 1 minute, you had to jump 100 feet, and you had to do slalom, and I can't remember how many buoys you had to go and how fast. I don't remember that at all.
No.
But we did all right. We could jump the 100 feet, and we could do the barefoot. I think we learned the barefoot. The Graf family came along with a couple of hot boats, another Century inboard and an outboard, and that helped us practice. We really practiced in our front yard, not so much at a show site. But Seagrace, they were very kind to us to let us do
Yeah.
work there.
What is Seagrays now?
That's the rental unit right across from Aurora Borealis. So, and those condos are in there. That was all part of Seagraves Resort. And there are pictures on the website of their hotel, which
Big
was
concrete block bottom, stuccoed over, or a big, a two-story, big, very impressive place.
yeah.
Oh, it's big, big
Can
time.
you tell me the acts again that you used in the beginning? The acts in the show, like I wrote down tricks, slalom.
Well, that's what we were trying to, that brings up the people. I guess Brother Mike said I used a saucer, but a red saucer was probably your saucer. But then Frank Knopp, I think, cut out a circle like this for us. But the Knopp's son wasn't with us, but I think the dad did the saucer. And then we had pairs. Susan Voss and I went out to two skiers, and she would end up on my shoulders. Now, I don't remember all the details of how she kicked off her skis, but we did. Do you remember that block I had? No. We had a old web belt, and we put a 2x4 piece on my hip, and somehow, going along at 30 miles an hour, she would drop a ski and somehow put a foot on that block on my hip and ended up on my shoulders, and we'd come in. So that was pretty interesting. And then we did a pyramid, and I don't remember who was in the pyramid, but the ski group, it was Louis Burmeister and his guests currently, Mary Klippel, Gary Dorn, and so forth. Louis had a 73, a Ford convertible. 73 would that have been?
Probably.
So we were skiing in the 70s.
Okay, see, and that was after I was...
Yeah, the last year, the Ford had the convertible with the flathead engine, I think. So that was 73.
73 or 63? 63.
63.
63. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that's one bit of evidence where we started, what year we were doing this. Then we did the jump, and I can't remember who was, the Fibres and Ferris, that group came later.
Okay.
I did the jumping, and the jump is 6 feet off of the water. But we decided we were better than the average. So we raised the jump to 10 feet. And that jump is only 25 feet long, and when you take a piece of wood and you raise it to 10 feet and it's only 25, I mean, it's going straight up. When I went over that jump, all you saw was sky. You came down and both skis would break. So I did it the second time and broke 2 more skis, and we decided that's it, we can't afford this game. But we got the skis seconds in Woodruff. There was you probably know.
Yeah, there was a manufacturer down there in
Yeah.
Woodruff that did stuff like that, yeah.
Yes, we'd get seconds and trick them up and
Aqualines?
Probably Aqualand, I
Aqualine
think.
skis?
yeah.
I think so, yeah.
So that's sort of how this thing started.
Lots of wildness, right?
What's that?
You didn't feel mortal, did you, when you
No.
were doing all this?
You know, we're young kids and we're tough young kids and we're just having fun, and this is a summer project, you know. No, there's no problem.
And how many other young people were with you skiing? Do you recall?
That's what we're trying to work on. We had do you remember John Sisk? John Sisk, they rented on Spider Lake. He played for the Chicago Bears, running a halfback for the Chicago Bears. And for the ski show in Mercer, we decided he would be the headless horseman. So there's a pier, and we put a ramp without people seeing the ramp. And then we put a turtleneck sweater on him and tied off the top, but we put above his head, like the Pall Mall Dorsey guys, it was a flat oatmeal, top of an oatmeal container, and then we put the sweater there and tied it off, so all you saw was this black turtleneck to here and this headless horseman, and he could see through the sweater. And he came down the bay, and he was heading straight for the, and probably Purdue or Carlin was announcing it, and he was out of control. Well, he's gonna die. But the people didn't see the ramp, so the headless horseman came, and he went right up the ramp, and he survived. That's some of the stuff we used to do. So I enjoyed the jumping, and later on the barefoot part. And basically, I wasn't a slalom expert, but it was fun to do the pyramid and to do the doubles with Susan. And then Voss has always had a series of people from St. Louis that would be in for the summer. The Dilschneiders and Romadkas, and they always skied with us. And the two Voss girls had wonderful boats. Nancy had a Thompson rough water speed demon with probably a Mercury Super 10, and Susan had the Thompson, I think, smooth water deep race boat with a Merc 10 on it. But the girls, they were just well taken care of.
And John, what did you like to do?
Well, this all happened after I was out of the club, I'm sure. Because I remember probably just one summer, and that would have been the first year that we did it down in front of Z Gray's. And then, 19 years old, I got married, so that kind of took care of my wild life.
Well, the problem was John took Mary away from all of us.
Mary was on the
No, I say
team
she
too?
might have chummed with us, but I don't think she was a skier. Well,
I don't think so.
no, I don't think so.
No.
But she was part of the young group. Whether you were a skier or a fun part of the young group, that was fine. But all of us knew Mary.
Uh-huh.
And then John snaked her from us.
And so she was kind of part of the audience too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you gather quite a large audience?
I don't know, we paid the bills.
Yeah.
By the, obviously, we paid for the gas and the engine, or we didn't I didn't donate any other than, a few bucks at the show.
So you asked for
But-
donations when you put on shows?
Yeah.
Yeah, just like it is now.
And we paid our way. And Ray Smeeth, the Evinrude dealer, was kindly with us. And then Lion might have built the boat for us.
So did Ray Smith let you use the Evinrudes in the summer and then he took them back? Or did
I don't remember I think they were maybe 1-year-old Evinrudes, but he had some seance with the factory, yes, yeah. So that was a boon for us to have his Evinrudes. Or we would have his Evinrudes on a chase boat if we had a bigger ski, if we used Burmeister's boat. So. And then the club grew. And then many young people were involved in it. So Rick Ritter came in. Was that later on?
That's my era.
What?
That's my era.
Okay. Yeah, and he was good.
He was a good skier.
Yeah, we had the Ferrises, Ritter, a lot of wonderful, talented kids.
Will Byram,
Yeah, Willie.
the Josephs, younger Josephs.
The Joseph, yeah. That's right, Larry went down to Woodruff, to Minocqua rather, and we had the younger ones, yes. One of the kids, McFarland boys, Brett, now I don't know if he ever skied with us, but I remember going to the marsh one day and he's practicing his barefoot on the dikes behind the pickup truck. And that's where he probably learned to do his beach start on his back on the dikes up there. So it was interesting how this all came.
So you had interest right away when you started to announce the club?
We were competitive because it was Cypress Gardens, Minocqua, and us. So I
And
think,
where was Cypress Gardens?
Florida.
but that was what seeded water skiing, was the shows at Cypress Gardens. The Pope family ran Cypress Gardens, and they were hugely successful. They were 24/7 year-round shows, ski shows, with many women doing multiple person pyramids and so forth. And that's where we would, and Bill Perdue would collect his ideas and his wit from being down there in school.
The era that you were in, did you guys buy coordinated swimming suits and have costumes?
Yes, now that you've read, we did. Yeah, I probably still have my skimpy little Speedo type swimming suit, yes. Yes.
Did it fit anymore?
No, she won't let me get out of the house. But yes, that's about when I left. Maybe 1 year we had the coordinated suits, and then the girls had nice suits and would have a seasonal picture and so forth.
Do you have any pictures from that time?
Well, there's a picture in the pea patch.
Is there when you're in it?
Yeah, there's a picture of Wendy and myself and somebody else from the barefoot contest. At the end of the bar, when you sort of go to the back seating area, it's right here. So at least it was there a year or two ago. And Wendy was wonderful. She got into the barefoot skiing. She was better than I was.
She was a true early female athlete. She
was very accomplished
And
skier.
what is her last name?
Feirisen. Well,
It was Senate. No,
he
it
is
was
Tillman.
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 Yeah, Tillman.
Wendy
Yeah,
Tillman.
Wendy was very, very good.
Yeah.
You know, we did a lot for young kids. We, built the jump, and where did we get 55-gallon barrels and
From the hardware store.
yeah. So I don't.
What I think is interesting is Jerry Raiola was president of the club for a long time. And the thing that we talked about when we had a group interview is the fact that parents gave our young people so much freedom to really run the whole thing. There wasn't
point.
anybody hovering over. It was really
No,
a
it was us.
kid-driven
You're
organization.
Right. You're right. Other than Ray Smith providing the engines,
Right.
then it was us. It was us deciding. We had no supervision,
Yeah.
no adult supervision, to how do you direct a show and how do you put people in a certain order and so forth. We didn't. Maybe that's what got me in medical school.
Yeah.
Can we think of anything? Oh, we can call Mike, but
I gotta get some more paper.
do either of you have any questions or thoughts or where we can go?
Did you,
Is it still self-sustaining?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well that's impressive,
Yeah.
that it's still self-sustaining.
did
I was
you,
gonna bring over, I left it, I was gonna bring over Bill Perdue's slalom ski for you people to see. Maybe I'll have to leave it at the door someday. It's about that high and it's about that wide.
love to take a picture of that and put it
Yeah.
online.
I should have brought, I had it out, but I just bought 2 of the patches that we had originally. But
As a group, did you socialize beyond the water sports? Did you guys get together as a group?
no, I didn't, the Dunns.
Okay.
No, we didn't socialize. I think a lot more socialization came in later when there were more people. And when you had an attractive group of young ladies that, there were I think that it grew, and that's when socialization took place. When we got it going, it was just work. Fun and work.
Was the town supportive of this organizing of the club?
0. No, it was us.
Just-
Well, they let us use the community hall then as a meeting place, so that, and maybe Seagrays, I don't know if they had anything on letting us use. That's a haul. Mike said that we took the jump from our house, Little Star Lake, to the dam. I mean, somehow we hauled that. Somehow we got it. I don't think we hauled it down the river. We must have transported it. 'Cause I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't think we hauled the jump down the river. That would be it. That would be something. Well, maybe I should call Mike and see if he.
Sure.
Yes.
Yeah, let's do that. Mike Dunn is now on the phone to talk.
Start over, Mike. We put you on speaker.
That's where the old steamboat was. The very first steamboat that brought the shepherds and the hogs to the dam. It spent the winter there at that little bay.
Okay. And when was that built, Mike?
It was probably built around 1902.
Okay. Okay. And who owned it when we were allowed to have the jump there? And-
The steamboat was only there for
No.
probably till 1910.
No, but when we had the jump at Seagrays, who was kind enough to allow us to use the building?
There was a couple named something and their SIOC, SYOC. They probably were the owners at that time. It was a bad luck place by that time because it had no bathrooms in the hotel rooms upstairs.
Okay.
John remembers it also in detail.
Good.
Mike, we were wondering, we must have transported the jump to Seagrays by land. I mean, nobody would have hauled it down the river.
No, backtracking a minute. Louis Voss, or one of the Vosses, I think, gave you all permission to have the ski shows. He was probably the owner of it as a speculator thing after the hotel was closed.
I'll bet you.
That's right, John seems to think
During
that's
our
correct,
era, it
yeah.
was.
Okay, go back now to your...
Okay, and who are the principal people what year was Burmeister's convertible?
53 Ford.
53 Ford, okay. So Louis was in the show with us, the boat, and his friends would join us.
And that was notably Gary Dorn.
Yes, okay. Mike, when would Purdue become involved?
Much later than that, I think.
Oh, okay,
Maybe 4 or 5 years later.
okay,
Whenever he was in one of those colleges.
okay. Who did the announcing for us?
Well, Purdue did it later on, and of course he was very professional.
Okay, but Jay Carlin,
Jay Carlin is the only one that I can think of. And he was just an ordinary college kid, but he was good.
okay,
He came from one of those, like Aurora or someplace like that in Illinois. Everybody in the Skeeters was summer people. The
Okay.
boat club had a lot more residential members, but I can't think of any Skeeter that was anything other than a summer resident.
okay. And then when did we get the uniforms type swimming suits?
Oh, I don't know that. It's the red ones.
Yeah, okay, later on, okay.
Yeah, but that would have been one of the first things you guys did to make it look uniform.
Okay. Mike, who would have done the pyramid, the 3-man pyramid at the start?
Would one have been you?
Okay,
And I think Mary Clipple,
Yeah.
because she was so little
that's Burmeister's girlfriend, okay.
and gutsy. And would it have been Burmeister?
Don't know. No, who would have driven the boat?
Well, I would have done some of the driving.
Okay, that's right, you drove the Century.
But you needed somebody that was very, very strong to be at the bottom of the pyramid.
Okay,
And we had that wooden block.
yeah, we talked about that.
One of the guys.
how we got Susan up on my shoulders. Okay. Any other thoughts on the gals that joined us during this building period?
The only people I remember are the Ferris two, because he won some kind of barefooter. Ted Ferris had won something
Yeah.
in a larger competition, I think. I took pictures of him and his sister holding his trophy, and that would have been after 1966, because that's when I started using the 2x2-inch camera.
Okay.
So that's Christy Ferris.
Yeah.
And I don't know
Christensen. What about the Christensens? Be kind.
Oh, I never thought from Alder Lake.
Yes. Yeah. She's smiling. Yep. Okay. Good.
Yeah, his people had a resort, his grandparents had a resort there.
Alderwood.
Alderwood and a tennis court along the road.
Yeah, that was left over
From
from
Schmidt.
the girls' camp that burned.
Camp
There was a
Ontonagon.
girls' camp in that area.
Camp Ontonagon.
Saki built the buildings, and it burnt down, but the tennis court, of course, was left, but they never rebuilt it or restarted the camp.
Wysocki built the buildings?
Yeah,
Okay.
and I think Varney's was the name of the camp.
The family was,
People.
Mike, this is, I'm Kay Christensen. Well, I'm not a Christensen anymore, but I found the name of the camp, and it was Camp Ontonagon, but it was owned by the Varney family, and he was a pretty famous architect out of Chicago.
Oh,
And they ended up moving to Washington, D.C., and then that was the end of the camping, but it was that girl, the parents had a bunch of girls and one son, and they believed that camp experience should be a girl experience as well as boys.
oh, that was good. And of course, at that time, you could only come in from Powell Road. The road didn't go all the way around the chain at that time. There was no bridge where McFarland's are.
Yeah.
Okay. Mike,
That was much later.
Mike, I think we'll wrap it up with you. And if we have some more ideas, we'll just jot them down and we can call you.
Yeah. Wysocki, of course, is the man that had the farm
Yes.
on Highway W, but he was a builder, and he specialized mostly in log buildings like Manitou Lodge.
Okay.
And I think he cut the logs himself.
What did your dad build bosses out of? Was it log?
No, it
No,
was
frame.
dimensional.
Okay. Mike, thank you. I'll talk to you later.
Yeah, I'm trying to think if there was anything. I mentioned to you all the ideas I had.
Okay. And
And the lumber must have come from Minocqua.
we think
Must have been delivered to our house. And one of the important things Dad was worried about was insurance for the jump. And the lantern
insurance.
at night on the jump in case there was anybody out in a boat.
At night. Okay. So that it had to be lit at night?
Yeah, a lamp, and we just hung a lamp in the middle of the upper lip of the jump.
Okay. And then Bud Newman got insurance for us, right?
I'm sorry.
Mr. Newman got insurance?
He got the insurance. Ambrose T. Newman, Newman. Bud Newman.
Okay. Good.
He had a lot of our insurance.
Okay. Good. Okay, Mike, relax. I'll talk to you later and we thank you.
Okay.
This is the end of this interview with Dave Dunn and John Hanson and Kay Krans. Thank you so much
It's
for listening.
Commodore John Hanson.
Commodore John Hanson, yes.
Thank you for having us.
Thank
It's a
you.
pleasure.
So much to learn.
It's a long
Thank
time ago.
you. Yep.